And as fate would have it, this session usually would run about an hour and a half, but the WWA adjusted to an hour. Now there's a 15-minute break in between, so we may go over a little bit. So you just had a nice little break. So please stay with us if we run over just a tiny bit, okay? Is that a deal? There is not anybody here after us, and then you can run off to the next class. But there's a chance that we could run over because it was adjusted. All right. Well, I'm very pleased to announce the speaker because the speaker hails from Summit, New Jersey. Sure. So sound needs 1 second. So what do you have to do? But let me tell you a little bit about our speaker. His name is Sergeant Rick Proctor. Rick has been a police officer in 2 New Jersey communities for over 15 years. He's also a proud U.S. Marine. Any other Marines in the room? Separate fine. He served as a military police corrections specialist for 4 years before becoming a police officer. Proctor served as a training officer for other regional law enforcement agencies in the proper tactical response to active shooter incidents. After numerous training sessions as a school, district safety, and security liaison, Rick realized that the average person had no idea how to increase their chance of survival until the police arrived. His ability to make these survival tactics practical, understandable, and memorable have made him a popular choice for speaking engagements for all different industries. He's formed the firm of IAC Consulting, Violent Intruder Active Threat, to assist agencies such as yours in planning for this very frightening but could be helpful to each of you, to your employees, to your staff, and to your guests. So I do want to tell you a little personal story. I attended a training, and I thought, oh God, I hope I never need to use this, whether it's on my professional life or personal life. And learn to always be aware of where you are. And my husband and I were attending a funeral in an urban environment in New Jersey. When we stepped out of the funeral home, I was aware of my surroundings having gone to this session. And suddenly I saw some young people running through the street, which at that time of day wouldn't have been acceptable, wouldn't have been the right thing, young kids playing in the street. And I saw shiny objects in their hands. And just based on the training I received, I knew something just didn't feel right. And my husband was with me and several other people behind me, and I pushed them back into the vestibule and started yelling for help to call 911. And sure enough, shooting started. It was 2 young men running after each other, shooting. And I'll never forget that classroom experience, as I watched it, and I said, oh, I'm never going to deal with this. I'm never going to have to worry about this. Proved to save me personally from what could have been a traumatic experience. So hopefully you'll pick up some hints for you. Go home and teach it to your families. Go home and teach it to your staff. And if you need help, reach out to someone trained in this, a specialist like Sergeant Proctor. So I'm very proud to introduce Sergeant Rick Proctor of IAC Consulting. Please welcome.
Okay, sorry I've got some technical issues, but it's working now. Like Jim said, I've been a police officer for over 15 years. Most of my career I've been training police officers. I just recently got into training civilians as well. My chief wanted me, I was doing active shooter training for police officers on how officers respond to the situation. Chief asked me to start working with the schools and churches and businesses and help them on what they need to do. I wanted to expand outside of the city that I worked in, so I started this company to reach out and help everybody. First, I'm going to start off with a video that's going to be a little disturbing to you guys, probably. There's scenes of violence and some cursing in it. It's important, I think, to see that because it's what we're dealing with today. So I'm going to start off 22 minutes long, a little clip. If you want to cover your eyes or whatever. Can you pick up? Hello? Can you tell me where you are? you saw in the opening quote that was on the screen when you first walked in? Is it working? You don't hear me all right? No?
I think you turned it off.
Did I? Sorry, I'm not real good with text though. How about now? Nope. Still not working. All right, I'll yell. As you saw in the opening screen, there are no sanctuaries anymore. This is going to happen everywhere. It is happening everywhere. There goes the park. And it can certainly happen at a water park, a resort, a municipal pool, any of those places. So you need to get trained for stuff. You need to be prepared for it. I don't know if we're going to go into that. First of all, when we're talking about an active shooter, this is the federal government's definition of what an active shooter is. If you don't know what it is, but this is their definition. An individual actively engaged in killing or attempting to kill people in a confined, populated area, typically through the use of firearms. It doesn't always have to do with firearms. Remember, just this year, 2014, there were 3 attacks with knives, one at a Pennsylvania school, one in China at a train station, and last month down in Oklahoma. Also, they're changing the definition of taken out confined, because it doesn't actually have to be a confined area. Can you turn it down? So this is what we're talking about, active shooters. I prefer to call it active threat or violent intruder, because it doesn't necessarily have to be a gun. It can be anything, but shooter implies guns. All right, so FBI recently did a study with the Texas State University, and they studied all the active shooter events from 2000 to 2013. What they found was they put out a report on it, which can be found online if you want to see the whole report. You go to FBI website, you go to my website, and I posted there. Just a couple stats I'm going to show you that I thought were important. For the first half of this study, first 7 years, there was about 6.4 active shooter incidents a year. In the last half of this study, it went up to 16.4. So it almost tripled. So it's definitely happening more often now. And everybody's aware of it, and they need to be prepared for it. Another interesting thing is everybody thinks that this is, only schools. As you see there, it's 24% of times at schools, which is way too much, but it's not like everybody thinks. Everyone thinks it's the majority of the time. You saw in the opening slide, it was happening at malls, airports, water parks, everywhere. This stuff is happening everywhere, so it's not only schools. Businesses is 46% of the time, outdoors 9% of the time, and other is 21. Other would be like houses of worship or military bases or something like that, anything that doesn't fit with the first three. So it's not only schools, it's happening everywhere. So what do you guys need to come up with your facility? I don't know if you guys are bosses or workers for your places, but your facility needs to come up with, has to do 2 things, responsible for 2 things. Coming up with an emergency action plan, which is also referred to by other agencies as an emergency operation plan. You may have heard it like that. And you need to train your people to do emergency action plans. It's pretty much cut and paste. You probably already have them for if there's a fire, or if there's a severe weather, power outage, something like that. A lot of this will be cut and paste, such as this, outline evacuation routes, and post them throughout your facility so that your guests know where to go during an evacuation. Probably already have that, so just get put in this. Methods of reporting emergencies. How do you notify the police that something's going on? College campuses have those call boxes, throughout the campus with a blue light on top. You have that in your water park. I don't know if that's one way to report it. Panic alarms. You call 911. How are you doing? You need to come up with a way to do it. Put it in an emergency action plan. On-site emergency notification. That's letting everybody else in the park or in your hotel know that something's going on at the front gate or wherever it is. How you notify these people? Do you have 2-way walkie-talkies? Do you have a PA system? Everybody needs to be notified. If people are left in the dark, we'll be held liable. Contact information for the people and agencies that need to be notified and what their responsibilities are. That would be police, fire, obviously your director of your facility, whatever. Perfect example. And information on area hospitals, where they are, how far are they from your facility, where this event may take place, phone numbers, addresses, that kind of stuff. This is all stuff that needs to be in your emergency action plan. You also need to come up with an active threat response policy, or a lot of people call it an active shooter response or a lockdown policy, whatever. Lockdown is only one of your options, so I don't like to call it a lockdown policy, but basically if there's a threat inside your park or inside your facility, what are you going to do? What are the plans? What's your response going to be? And we're going to get into that. You also need a shelter-in-place policy, which you may already have. If there's something going on, if there's a threat outside your facility. Police activity going on outside or something, you don't want the bad guy getting in, you don't want, you lock down your facility pretty much. Nobody goes in, nobody goes out. It could also be used for gas spills or whatever. You may already have that, but that needs to be in there as well. All right, training. said you need to train your people. Why do you need to train your people? Because OSHA says you do. This general duty clause says you got every employer shall furnish a place of employment which is free from recognized hazards that are causing or likely to cause death or serious physical harm to your employees. This was written in 1970. Obviously, active shooter events wasn't on their mind when they wrote this, but in 1992 they extended this to cover workplace violence, and a shooter in your facility is definitely workplace violence. Also now, the courts are recognizing that these active shooter events are happening so often that it's definitely a recognized hazard. So you could be held liable if you don't train your people on what to do. They need to have some idea of what they're supposed to do if something happens. We're going to get into that. So what do you train them on? You train them on how to recognize a threat. We're going to talk about that in a little bit. How to alert everyone to the threat, which is what we just spoke about, two-way radios or a PA system or whatever. Not only do you need to put it in your plan, but you also need to train your people on the use of it. How are you going to react to the threat? Your survival options, we're going to go into that. How to notify law enforcement. That's what I was talking about, the call boxes, panic alarm, call 911, whatever the case is. Just one thing to keep in mind, depending on what part of the country you're from. In New Jersey, our 911 from a cell phone doesn't necessarily go to our local police department. I just had it on Thursday at work. There was a domestic violence situation. A woman called 911. It went to a different county first because it hit off a different cell tower. That cell tower was full or whatever. I don't know how that works, but it went to the neighboring county. Then the county communications sent it to the neighboring town, and then they finally sent it to us. These events happen so quickly, you don't have time for that nonsense. You're bouncing all over the place and have to explain it 3 times. So in your cell phones, I recommend to everybody that for your work, what town you work in and what town you live in, put your local police department's phone number in there on speed dial. If you're calling 911, you may not get them. So I would put your local police department phone number in your cell phone. From a landline, it'll go right to the local meeting. So not only how to notify them, but what they're going to want to know. What do you need to tell them? They're going to want to know the location of the shooter, the number of the shooters, the description of the shooters, all the information. If you don't have it, you don't have it. They're going to ask you this when you call 911. What types of weapons they're carrying, and you may say, I don't know anything about weapons. I'm not going to know that. I'll show you a couple here. That's an AR-15. That's the weapon that was used at Sandy Hook Elementary School. Commonly referred to as an assault rifle. This is a pump-action shotgun. That's a weapon that was used, for example, at Washington Navy Yard. And then these are handguns, which almost every shooter has them when they go in. The big one was Virginia Tech. He used top 2 are semi-automatics and the bottom one's a revolver. So this is just an idea of what the weapons these are the most commonly used weapons in these cases. We're also going to want to know, or the police are going to want to know how many victims there are and where they're located, so we can get in and get them out. So this is the type of information your employees need to know. And how to behave when law enforcement arrives on scene. There's certain things you want to do, certain things you don't want to do. The biggest thing, to wrap it all up in one phrase, is you don't want to appear to be a threat. We're going to go into that in a little bit. Also, they need to be aware of their surroundings. What do I mean by be aware of their surroundings? Not only everywhere you go, you should know where every exit is. Every place I go, and it's not being paranoid doing this, it's being prepared. If you have a fire extinguisher in your house, you're not paranoid you're going to get a fire, you're just prepared for it. Everywhere I go, I just identify the exits when I get in. Just keep myself safe. If something happens, I know how to get out of here. So that's being aware of your surroundings, everywhere you go. Church, whatever. Also, if they notice loose bag lying there, it wasn't there a minute ago, what's in that bag? Who knows? I mean, it could be a weapon, it could be explosives for something later. If it's a suspicious package, say something. See something, say something, basically. So be aware of your surroundings. Another thing, a lot of people at office buildings and stuff, you walk up to the counter and they're working on something, I'll be right with you. Just give you that finger, like just a minute, don't even look up. Just take a look up, make sure the person standing there is not holding a weapon on you. Just, what I'm saying, just be aware of your surroundings at all times. And your employees need to know that. Get them mentally prepared for this type of event. How do we mentally prepare them? You run drills. They go to training sessions like this and they get, this is a reality. This could very well happen. And run drills. Before the park opens, it may be a little more difficult at a hotel if you always have people there, but I don't know, maybe in the water park part of the hotel, if you have a resort hotel like that, run drills. It gets them ready. It gets them, they know this could very well happen. Change the training up a little bit for them. What I mean by that is don't always have the same person. If you are going to run drills and you call it on a PA system, we have a shooter over here, do what you got to do. Change it up. Don't have the same person calling it every time. If you always have the manager or the director of the facility calling the lockdown, calling the drill, then people are going to get used to hearing that voice. You need to empower your people, let them know that they can call it. It's okay for them to call. So you walk up to one of your employees and say, go Go to the lifeguard at the lazy river. A dude starts shooting everybody in the lazy river. What do you do? And they got to do it. They make them call it. It empowers them, lets them know it's okay for them to call it, a lockout or call it an event. It also, it is a real event. You don't want the first time for someone else to hear someone else's voice be the day of the real event, and then they question, oh, maybe it's just somebody messing around, because that's not Bob. Bob's the one that always calls it. So change training. Also, pull a fire alarm during it. If you have a hotel kind of thing, I mean, it's going to be difficult in a hotel, but one of the things I recommend to the schools, you're not supposed to come out during a lockdown. The fire alarm goes off, you don't come out. For obvious reasons, you get more targets coming into the hallway. A lot of people have asked me in the past, isn't the quickest way to get people out of the building by pulling the fire alarm? Sure it is, but if you have a shooter in the building, you don't want them coming out of their rooms. If we were in this hotel, which this hotel has a PA system in every room. I noticed that last night. If they call a lockdown, or there's a shooter down in the lobby, and then they pull the fire alarm, well, I'm not going to go downstairs to the lobby because there's a shooter down. But people don't think. It's a knee-jerk reaction. You hear a fire alarm, you get out. If there's an event like this going on, you don't want to get out. Well, we're going to talk about whether you want to get out, but I'm talking about when you hear that fire alarm, you don't want. Unless you're smelling smoke or seeing smoke, you don't get out when there it is. So you can change it up by pulling that and testing them. Don't remember. Include law enforcement in your training. This helps big time for law enforcement and for you. Law enforcement, we're always looking for somewhere else to train. We always need a place to train. So invite them into your facility. What it does for you is it gets them familiar with your facility. If they've never been in there, I mean, there's places in Summit that I've never been to. I haven't been past the front desk, so I don't know what the layout is. We're doing walkthroughs of all the schools now, because in the past, all we did was go to the front desk if they needed something. So if they call for something going on in a lab, I had no idea where it is. But so for you guys, you got a huge. I mean, we went to that water park last night. The place is pretty big. If they said go to the Tornado Bowl or whatever that place was called, the local PD may not know where it is. If you get them in there, get them familiarized with your place. Let them train at your facility when it's closed, and then know how to get around quicker. It's going to help you faster because you want them there as quickly as possible. Know the name of your support buildings. What I mean by this is some places have different areas of the park where they make calls. I'll give you an example where I work, community programs. Judith has buildings all over the place. And we have a lot of fields in town. One in particular, Tatlock Field has a field house there. We call it Tatlock Field House. That's what it means to the police. They call it Anderson Field House. So if they would call us and say, there's something going on at Anderson Field House, we're going to say, where the heck is Anderson Field House? I don't even know where that is. So make sure you communicate with your local PD and they know what everything is called. Because you're going to refer to it what you refer to it when you're in a kind of situation you call. Make sure they understand that. Train your people to have a personal emergency action plan. You're going to have yours. Everybody needs to have their own from wherever they work. If it's an office worker, from their desk, if I hear shooting, where am I going to go? They need to come up with their own emergency action plan. You can do that. I do that all the time as a police officer. If I'm driving down the street and I happen to look at 7-Eleven, I'll think to myself, one day I may be driving down this road and I see somebody holding up a clerk at 7-Eleven. What am I going to do? Or how am I going to approach? How am I going to call headquarters? How am I going to get the other guys there? Tell them to approach. It's just pre-planning. So when it happens, I don't think about it at that point. Same thing for you guys. Everybody should pre-plan. Have an escape route. Know how you're going to get out. And this is not only from your desk or from wherever you, like your lifeguards. I believe at water parks, they move around a bunch. They go to different sections. They should do that. They're walking down like this. They're not allowed to stop moving. They just keep going back and forth. While they're doing that, they should be thinking, okay, something happens right now. Where am I going to go? If I'm at the lazy river, something kicks off. Where am I going? How am I getting out of here? And then if I go with the toilet bowl thing, where am I going to go? How am I getting out of here? Everywhere they go. If you're an office worker, if you have a lunch room, do it from your lunch room. If you have a copier room, do it from the copier room. It doesn't take you 2 seconds to try to figure it out where you're going to go. And if you can't get out, if you can't go away, you need to find a place to hide. Pre-plan that as well. Know who's going to need assistance. You have elderly people working with you that may need help. You have disabled people that may need help. Know who it is. Pre-plan with them. Let them know in advance. You know what? If something ever happens here, this is what we're going to do. I'm going to help you get out of here. This is how we're going to do it. Or I'm going to hide you here if you can't get out. Have an alternate plan. If I hear shooting, what do I do? And what am I going to do if that doesn't work? And then run your plans by other people who you work with. When you come up with your plan, they may think of something. They may have thought of something you hadn't thought of. Or you may have thought of something they hadn't thought of. So you're helping each other out. All right, so the big question is profile of an active shooter. Everybody wants to know how we're going to know before. You have a question?
Yes, I'm wondering, there's a free training schema for active shooters, and anybody can log on and get a participation certificate. I've had all my lifeguards go through, it takes 20 minutes or so, maybe half an hour. Is that something you recommend?
I haven't seen the program. I'm sure if it's for FEMA, it's probably good.
Yeah, it's right in line with all of those, you know, setting up your EOP and in that same succession.
Okay.
Trainings.
Yep.
Good one is free and it's on FEMA.
I can't endorse it because I haven't seen it, but
Okay.
I'm sure it's FEMA's pretty good. Most of them. All right, so the profile of an active shooter. How are you going to know in advance? If you're the person at the front desk taking the tickets, you see somebody coming, how do you know who this guy is? Unfortunately, there is no profile. Everybody thinks it's the loner kid. You remember what happened last week, not even a week ago, up in Washington. The kid was like the most popular kid in school. He just won the Prince of the Homecoming thing. He was on the football team. So it's not the loner. The kid in Arapahoe, Colorado last year, the last school shooting of the year last year. He was an Eagle Scout. He was on the track team. He was on the debate team. So it's not just the people that you think, with the black trench coats, gothic guys and all that kind of stuff. The closest thing we have to a profile from that study I told you about from the FBI, 96% of them were males, but you can't be afraid of every male, and 71% of them were bullied or felt that they were bullied at some point. So there really is no profile. There are some indicators, you're probably saying, no, it's not really that helpful for us then. There are some indicators. First, you got to understand where the threats come from. You have internal threats and you have external threats. Your internal threats are these people, anybody you're familiar with, anybody that you work with every day, all the people that are supposed to be there, even a regular delivery guy that works in an office setting. He comes in, hey Joe, how was your trip to Vegas? He walks behind the desk and grabs the packages, and that's no problem at all. That could be considered an internal threat. Your external threats are all your guests, people that come in and out. This guy could be an external threat. He doesn't know where to hide weapons. But anyone in there that you don't know is an external threat. So there's different ways to identify these types of threats. Your internal threats is a lot easier to identify than your external threats for obvious reasons, because you know these people. You know the behavioral changes. What you're looking for is behavioral changes in them. This is a list put out by the Department of Homeland Security. It's a list of workplace violence indicators, and it works the same way for here. If you're hiring, a couple more here. If you hire somebody that's moody, kind of moody, that's not really an indicator because that's the way they work. But if you had somebody that was all happy, they tend to work on time every day, and then all of a sudden they're starting to show up late, they're getting disgruntled, they're talking about weapons and shootings and stuff like that, that's an indicator right there. It's a totality of circumstances, not just one of these things. If you're getting a whole bunch of these things, it's a red flag. The biggest ones down here, everything with individuals committing violence. This is somebody that says, you know what, they deserve that. They were picking on that guy, nobody did anything, the boss never stepped in. They deserve it. Now, who's going to think that a mass shooting is, that's not deserved, so that's a red flag right there. Also increase about firearms, talk of firearms. You have firearm fanatics out there, and that's fine. But if there's somebody like Sally Jones who works the front desk, or, and all of a sudden she's starting to talk about firearms all the time, and all these other things are happening as well, or some of these other things, well, that's a red flag. Just foster, a nice work environment for these people, so they eliminate that internal threat. If something like this does occur, if somebody points out to something weird going on with Joe, I don't know what's going on, he's starting to be real weird, he's violating the rules, he's showing up late, he's talking about guns all the time, that guy needs to be pulled in and sent to counseling or something, because you're going to have a real bad day, just let that go. This one's a little more difficult. The external threats, you don't know these people. So you can't really pick up on behavioral changes. There are some indicators, though. We're going to talk about it, but you're going to see these, you're going to be like, come on, really? How am I going to identify this? They're not real easy to identify, but if you do, it could stop something. Parking in an unauthorized area. I gave this training to all the city hall workers where I work, and the parking enforcement officer looking like, are you kidding me? We got active shooters running all over town in the bathroom. But what I mean by this, right here, this is Sandy Hook Elementary School. That's a shooter's car. You can see down here, no parking, clearly marked up here. There's a sign right here. Out here on the left, there's a big parking lot. You ever see a bird's eye view of the school? There's a big parking lot there where you could have parked. Again, this is far-fetched. However, these are the rooms that were affected right here. Room 10 and 8, right down this corridor right here. Had these teachers been trained on this, and I'm not blaming them at all, they never received this. But had these teachers been trained, this could be an indicator that she happened to be standing in that window or near, you know, even at her desk, saw a car parked. She said, why is that car parking right there? So where's the parking lot right there? Why is it parking there? Now again, it could be a mom just parking there running the luncheon that the kid forgot. But you just keep an eye on it for a second. He got out of this car with that rifle that I showed you at the beginning and walked from here around that front door with a big rifle in his hand. Had she seen that, obviously she could have put that school on lockdown. She could have notified the police. The police may have been halfway there before he even got to the front door. I'm not putting blame on her again. I'm not saying you're always going to, but just take a second to watch and see if the guy's walking up with a gun in his hand or something like that. This is not normal. People don't just do this on a regular basis. You know, it's clearly marked all over the place. So that is one indicator. If you keep your eye on it, maybe you'll see something. By the way, the school was never put on lockdown. They didn't have time. He shot from the front, walked in, started shooting. Nobody called a lockdown. Janitor ran down the hallway, locking all the doors when he heard the shooting. So they had no time to react whatsoever. Not following protocol, that could be somebody walks up to your ticket window, walks right by you. You know, like you're not even there. Sir, wait, you got to buy a ticket, and you keep on walking. Well, that's not normal behavior either. You need to notify your security or call the police or something. Keep an eye on the person. That's not normal behavior. Walking in, walking out, somebody walks in and start looking around a little bit. You're like, can I help you, sir? You're looking around, can I help you? And then they walk right back out. Now, maybe they were just looking for somebody that only talking to people, or maybe they realized that I'm in the wrong place and they were ignoring you for some reason. Could be nothing, but it could be something too. Maybe they came in and want to see, is this a target-rich environment? There are a lot of people here. Is there security, surveillance cameras? Is there security personnel? And now they're walking back out to go get a gun. Or this could be their plan. These guys, after this slide, we're going to talk about 5 phases that these guys go through. One of them is planning. This could be the planning phase. Maybe he's doing his recon ahead of time. So it's just something to keep an eye on. Asking about security procedures. This is big with terrorism, but it could happen with this too. Be part of their planning. Some of you guys may have a weak link, like the high school kid that works for you in the summertime as a lifeguard. These guys will see, yeah, I'm a weak link. Oh, this kid's probably telling me something. Go up to the guy that lays in the river and ask him about security. Tell the people, somebody starts asking you about security stuff, you need to let us know immediately. They're asking about procedures, we need to be notified because it could lead to something. Call the police. That's suspicious. That's what the police are for. Police are common question. They go, why are you asking these questions? Nothing wrong with that. Hold on. That's what they're there for. You get paid. Testing security procedures. This is another one where you could have, say, an alarm door says do not open, fire alarm, fire exit only, it's alarm. Maybe they hit that door open to see, is there really an alarm? And if so, will people actually come? They're testing. It's all part of the planning. They're just testing. They could call a 911 call from across the street to see how quick the police response is. They're testing the police. Avoiding eye contact. They walk in and try to pretend like they don't see you. They walk right by you, hoping you won't ask them anything, hoping you won't say anything to you. Maybe they don't want to be identified. That could be another one that's kind of weird, especially if you start calling them and they keep on walking. It goes back to the not following protocol. Being in an unauthorized area, it could be employee-only areas. If you have them, which I'm sure you do, it could be just like testing the other thing. Maybe they go behind that area where it says employees only. Will somebody notice that I'm even here? And if so, will they call me on it? Will they challenge me? And then obviously, when unseasonable clothing, you walk into a water park with a trench coat on, you're hiding something, most likely, or you see a sag in a pocket, could be a weapon in there. And then dropping a bag and walking away is what I was telling you about before. Unattended bags, could be an explosive. It could be weapons that they're planning to come back later. That happens, in Colorado. So they're not really easy to pick up on, as I said at the beginning, but they are something. If you do pick up on it, it could be possibly stopped before it actually happens. So these are the 5 phases. Lieutenant Dan came up with. It's not the same Lieutenant Dan you may be thinking of. All active shooters go through 5. Well, he believes the theory is, and it's accepted theory, that shooters go through 5 phases. The first one is the fantasy phase. This is where he pictures himself doing the shooting. He pictures his name up on the headlines and everything that's going on. He made a lot about it. A lot of that's going on recently. I get feeds from all over the country, and it's happening. There's been a lot of arrests at the beginning of this fall. Kids posting stuff on the internet that threats to their school. And believe it or not, adults do it too. Doesn't have to be for school, but adults do it too. But that's the fantasy phase. If somebody, I gotta let you know that over 80% of the active shooter cases that have happened, somebody else knew about it. And whether they didn't believe it or they didn't think to tell anybody, it's becoming more common that people are starting to talk now because they realize that, you know, these people weren't joking. But 80% of the active shooter cases that have happened over the past 15 years or so, someone else has known about it. And this is how. So if you see something posted, or, you know, anybody, tell your kids too. Kids talk in school. If you see something, say something. Let somebody know. We'll be stopped at this point. The planning phase is the next one. This is where it decides the who, the what, the when, the where. They're trying to identify a target-rich environment. What kind of weapons am I going to use? How am I going to get to the place? How am I going to conceal my weapons? That's all the planning phase. They keep journals. Almost every active shooter case that you've probably heard about, like Virginia Tech, Columbine, Sandy Hook, they all had journals. Again, if a friend or family member were to pick up on that and notify somebody, it could have been stopped. Third phase is the preparation phase. So all that stuff has been decided, where they're going to go, what they're going to use, all that kind of stuff. Now they're starting to collect everything. They're getting their weapons, they're getting their ammunition. They may be planting their weapons at the location or planting explosives. This is where they also may call you and say, hey Joe, you know what? I've always liked you. Don't go to work tomorrow. Trust me on that. Just leave it at that. Put it and hang it. That happens. That's a big red flag right there. You ever get a phone call like that, call somebody. Call the police and let them know instead. People do it. Approach phase is when it's D-Day. They're on their way. They're armed. They're ready to go. They could be taking a bus. They could be driving. They could be walking. They could be on a bike. This is a little harder phase to catch it before it happens, but we get a lot of phone calls for suspicious persons or erratic drivers. You know, these guys have tunnel vision. They know what they're going to do. They're all amped up. They could be high on something to get themselves to do it. They blow a red light, somebody calls us. I mean, it's far-fetched, true. But if it does happen and we happen to pull them over, maybe we can stop it. But these 4 phases are the only 4 phases where it can be stopped ahead of time. So we're notified. Implementation phase is done. It's already, you walk through the door already and we fired at least 1 round. There's already 1 casualty. All we can do at this point is try to mitigate the threat, slow it down, close that window of opportunity. There's a window of opportunity these guys have because they're the only ones that know where they're going and when they're coming. So we need to try to close that window of opportunity by you guys picking up on some of the stuff and hardening your targets, which we'll talk about a little bit later, and by the police responding there as quickly as possible. We take immediate action. We've been trained. It's evolved over the years. We used to wait for SWAT, and then we had to wait for 4 guys to go in. Now it's immediate action. First guy there, I train my guys to go in. If you don't, I don't care if you hear a siren about to come around the corner. If you don't see that car, you're going in by yourself. Because statistics show that as soon as these guys are confronted, or they know the police are in the building, they do themselves, and it's over. They're cowards. They don't want to fight with the police. They don't want a gunfight. They want easy targets. So as soon as some kind of resistance arrives, it's over. So we're now trained immediate action. Close that window of opportunity. All right, so if that happens in your place, God forbid, what do? Humans have 3 responses when they're encountered with danger: fight, flight, or freeze. Fight is obviously fight back against that danger. Flight is you take off, go running. And freezing is you don't know what to do, you panic, just you freeze. During an active shooter event, freezing is not an option. Doing nothing is not an option. You can't just sit there. You got to do something or you're going to die. 3 best things you can do are these right here during this event to survive this event. What we're going to talk about is there are options you get to decide based on the situation of what you see, what information you know. We're not mandating anything. You do what you want, one of these 3 things. And also not guaranteeing your survival on this. It's not 100% survival rate. But our guarantee you're more likely to survive if you do this than if you do nothing. Doing nothing is not an option. So, talk about that. Run away from the sound of gunfire, I think it's pretty obvious. You want to create distance between you and the shooter. This is inside, outside, wherever you may be. Try to encourage other people to go with you. Some people freeze up. They panic. Hold on to something. Hold on to a chair. I'm not going anywhere. No, no, no. You got to try to convince them to go with you. Try to pull them away. But don't sit there for too long. Hold on, because you can't. You're going to die if you stay there. So, you have to leave them. You have to leave them go. Help others is what we talked about a little earlier. The elderly, the disabled, whatever. Help them get out. Go with your original plan. By the way, the run away from the sound of the gunfire thing, that's, if you had that personal emergency action plan, you already know where you're going, right? Or you know where you're going to hide. So you don't want to think of it that day when it's going on. And then when you're somewhere safe, call the police. Of course, let us know so we can get there. This works outside as well. Evacuate. If you're in a water park and someone starts shooting, you want obviously the same thing, create distance between you and the shooter. This may sound funny, but run in a zigzag line. Reason being is it's a lot harder to hit as a police officer and a Marine, and I've been shooting guns for many years. And I can tell you it's a lot harder to hit a moving target. Most of these guys aren't trained. They haven't been shooting for 20 years or whatever. They're not looking for difficult targets. They're looking for the easy targets. The guy that froze, the guy that did nothing. The person's just sitting there. That's the person who's going to get it. If you're running away in a zigzag pattern, you're getting away, most likely. It's a lot harder to hit a target that's moving. I think the NRA says that 90% more likely to survive if you're running away in a zigzag line. You may not like the NRA, but they know a lot about guns and stuff like that. All this stuff can occur outside the park. This is an exaggeration of a small little water park here, but you don't want to create a situation where it's fenced in. I noticed last night at that other water park that there's gates. There's other gates. They're locked because you don't want people sneaking in and everything. You got to open those gates. You can't keep these people caged in. If you think you won't be held liable for caging people in, you will be. If you had gates that could have been opened and you didn't open them and the people died because they couldn't get out, you're going to be held liable. So I don't know if you want to put it on an electronic thing where you can disconnect all the locks at one time, or assign people. Say the guy at the Lazy River, there's a gate right by you. Listen, if something happens when you're here, your responsibility is to go unlock that gate and then get out yourself. But let the people out of there. Can't keep the cage in. All right, this is a little film, kind of like a public service announcement. It's funded by the Department of Homeland Security. Some of you may have seen this. It's called Run, Hide, Fight. I'm going to show you the run part of it, the evacuation part. City of Houston Mayor's Office put it out, but it's funded by the Homeland Security.
It may feel like just another day in the office, but occasionally, life feels more like an action than reality. The authorities are working hard to protect you and to protect our public spaces. But sometimes bad people do bad things. Their motivations are different. The warning signs may vary, but the devastating effects are the same. And unfortunately, you need to be prepared for the worst. If you were ever to find yourself in the middle of an active shooter event, your survival may depend on whether or not you have a plan. The plan doesn't have to be complicated. There are 3 things you could do that make a difference. Run, hide, fight. First and foremost, if you can get out, do. Always try to escape or evacuate, even when others insist on staying. Encourage others to leave with you, but don't let them slow you down with indecision. Remember what's important. You, not your stuff. Leave your belongings behind and try to find a way to get out safely. Trying to get yourself out of harm's way needs to be your number 1 priority. Once you are out of the line of fire, try to prevent others from walking into the danger zone and call 911.
All right, so that's the run part. That's your first option. That's the first thing you want to do if something like this happens in your building or your water park. You want to get away, create distance between you and the shooter. Anywhere you go, you want to do that. That's another thing I forgot to mention at the beginning. What you learned here today can be used anywhere at all. If you go to a mall, if you're at church, if you go anywhere, any office building, this isn't just for your work, it's for your personal life as well. All this stuff I've trained my kids on to use at school, you Go to a mall, I tell my kids, if you're at a mall and you hear something sounds like a gunshot, don't be that guy that stops and goes, what the heck was that? And start looking around. I tell them, run into the closest store you can get to. Run into that store, don't just hide behind the clothing rack. Run all the way to the back of the room, there's probably a door back there that goes to the